Hello and welcome to episode 12 of the Ultra Posty Thoughts in My Head podcast. I am your host, Adam Lee. Thank you once again for joining me. I'm super pumped to introduce today's guest. He ran a touch over 254 miles on his way to victory at the Capital Backyard Ultra. His name is Scott Snell. We're getting to that in just a moment. The only bit of housekeeping before that. A few things on the newsletter went up, the last of which was a couple of reposts of me on a few podcasts with Michael and Matthias of Runner's Resource and Single Track. I had a great time just chatting trail running with them. Check those out, give them a follow. It was a lot of fun, but today, let's listen to Scott. Today's guest is Capital Backyard Ultra champion and friend of the newsletter, Scott Snell. Scott's from New Jersey in the US, and he's no stranger to the backyard format, having competed in a handful of these races now, and he's won before too. What made it all the more special this time is he managed to win this one with such a strong field and receive congratulations from none other than Lazarus Lake. Scott, congratulations, and thank you for taking the time today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
I'm so excited to chat with you about this. It's such a crazy experience, but let's start right at the beginning. Can you just tell us a little bit about how the backyard format works?
Yeah. So the backyard format, it's a pretty simple idea, pretty straightforward. And it sounds like super easy, but it gets increasingly difficult as it goes on. So basically all it is it's a 4.167 mile loop. And you run that loop every hour on the hour. And so it's like a elimination style. So runners who don't complete that 4.167 mile loop, they're eliminated from the race. And runners who do complete it, they get to do it again the next hour on the hour. And that's how it works. It just keeps going until the way the backyards are set up, there can only be one winner. So it keeps going until there's one runner who has done one yard more than any other runner. And so it leaves the possibility that there could be no winner. There's either one winner or no winner. If say for instance, 2 or 3 runners go out on whatever number of yard they're on and none of them make it back in the hour, then race is over, the race wins, and everybody running it gets a big fat DNF.
The race wins. I love it.
The race wins. Yep. That's thanks. I think those words are thanks to Lazarus Lake, who is, as far as I know, he came up with this whole race format. I don't think anyone has made any claim against that, and so I think he's the originator of it. But he uses that language to describe the Barkley a lot. It seems like the Barkley marathons, which I think most people have heard of because it's got the whole Netflix documentary. But he always talks about how Barkley likes the race wins, it's so that I think that's where it's a Laz touch to this style of race, which he's taken ultra running and he makes it a very unique and interesting sport, even more so than it already was before he touched it.
No kidding. You're doing my job because you've segued right into he had a race report that you featured on your race report, which I'm going to link to. It's a fantastic read. You're so humble and the story is very fun to follow along with. But I want to read what he wrote. I'm not going to give the whole thing away because people got to log in and read some of it. But this is what Laz wrote. Now we are into the 59th yard, and the strongest field in the U.S. so far in 2022 has come down to 56-year-old Jennifer Russo and Scott Snell, who we've been calling the crewless guy. Scott has had none of the luxuries enjoyed by those he left in the dust. No personal tent, no chair, just a pad on the ground, no crew to tend to his needs and fetch supplies, just Scott to take care of his damn self. There's a bunch more there. Like I said, I don't want to give it all away. He ended it with, anything can happen and anyone can win. And Scott, you won without a crew. I love the visual. I love the fact that you were making fans all weekend. You did point out that you had a great pick-me-up from your wife, which you really needed. But just take me through the weekend. All the emotions, there's so much to unpack there from just let us know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's kind of like any other ultra. You know, there's highs and lows, and with it being such a you know, longer than most ultras, you know, those can, you could have more of those highs and more of those lows, and the lows can be lower and the highs can be higher. So it's really, it's a emotional roller coaster ride. It's sleep deprivation, it's exhaustion, it's mental fatigue, it's everything, you know, everything in between. Um, so and you mentioned the call from my wife, which I gotta like thank her, because that's not the first time I've done the whole phone a friend thing to her, and she's rescued my race, because it happened actually at the first backyard that I ran, and that was Run Ragged up in uh, that's in Berlin, Connecticut, and that was back in 2019, and I hit the 20, it was the 25th hour, the 25th yard there, and I was just like, I was done at that point. I was like, it was just me and two other guys left, but you know, it's like they were finishing every lap before me, and I was just like at the point where I was like losing hope, and I was like, they're never gonna quit. I'm just wasting my time by
Oh,
continuing on. And you know, when you hit that hopeless feeling, I think that's where your day is over at the backyard. And so I actually I called my wife, and I was like, look, I think I'm gonna quit. I'm done. I'm tired of this. And she reminded me that the reason I was there, what I said I was gonna do, was keep going until either I'm the last one or until I time out, whichever comes first. And then I had my two kids at the time who were, you know, a few years younger. They're like 6 and 8 or something like that, somewhere in there. And so and they both, you know, told me to keep going, and I couldn't not keep going after that. So it's just like, it was the boost I needed. And then on top of it all, like her mom was over helping out watching the kids at the time, and her mom is like so totally New Jersey that she was like, her mom got on the phone, and her mom's like, who the f are these guys that are still running? What the f is this? And I was just like, oh come on, like, I'm like, they're other ultra runners, you know, we're not even at 100 miles yet, you know. It's like, I'm done, but they're not done. So that's just how it played out that day. And but that those phone calls, like, they really, you know, kind of relit the motivation to keep moving both times. So that's that's always like my last resort, is call the wife and have her tell me to keep going.
that's super special, though, right? Like, what a pick me up. Now you're talking about it as being like the moment of the race for you.
It was. I mean, in both those races, the first backyard I did, and then this most recent one at Capitol, I was ready to quit both times when I called. Like both times I was looking for her to just say, "Oh yeah, good job, come home, come be with your family." And both times she's like, "No, just, you said you're gonna keep going, you got to keep going." So that's what it was. And
She knows you
this
better than that.
she does. This time I was like complaining about how I was felt like I was sleeping while I was walking, and I was like stumbling and couldn't walk in a straight line. And she's like, "Well, drink a coffee. You brought 2 cans of iced coffee with you. Go drink, finish the lap, and chug a can of coffee and keep going." So you know, that's what I did.
That's
And
great. I
it
know
worked. It paid off.
she figured you out. I did read part of that you had a quick nap and you had some volunteers to make sure that you didn't nap too long. Is that the
Yeah.
only time you slept?
Yeah. Well, you know, it's hard to say for certain, because the first night I was like closing my eyes for a few minutes between yards on the first night, but it was just like, you know, I'd close my eyes and I kind of like did that weird thing where you feel like you're falling asleep, but you shake yourself awake real
Mm-hmm.
quick. So I did that a few times the first night, because I was like, my biggest worry being there without a crew was that I was going to fall asleep and sleep through like the warning whistles, or the bell, that's, if you're not in the starting trail, then you're out.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my biggest fear, like sleeping through that. And so the first night I didn't really sleep. That was the first night. Then the second night I was doing the same thing, but I was like, I as many people as there were still left in the race, I was like, I know this thing's gonna go like all day the second day. So I was like, I know I got to get sleep, because at that point like my walk, anytime I stopped running to take a walk break, my walking was wavy all over. I could run okay and run a straight line, but my walking was all over the place. So I was like, I know I got to get sleep. So I came in with a few minutes extra one time. And that's when I went over and I asked to volunteer, and Laz was within earshot when I was asking to volunteer. I was like, look, I'm going to try and take a nap. Could you just, when the whistle blows, if I don't pop up out of my cot, can you come wake me up and make sure I don't miss the bell?
Mm-hmm.
And Laz heard, and he was like rounded up a second volunteer to have like a backup. So I was like, all right, cool. I'm in good hands now.
Awesome.
And so I went over and I laid down. It was like 30 seconds later, the whistles blew. I was like, okay, I didn't have as much time as I thought. So then it was the next lap was the 5 a.m. lap. And I was like, okay, this time, this is my chance to really get an actual rest, an actual nap. So I went out that 5 a.m. lap, and I that was my fastest lap. It was like 43 minutes or something. So I had a good, like, after I got back and got my volunteers lined up to make sure I don't oversleep, refilled my water bottle, I had like a good 15 minutes to lay down. So I laid down in my cot and put the towel over my eyes, and I was out. And then I woke up on my own when they blew the 3-minute warning whistle.
Nice.
And the volunteer, as soon as I woke up, I looked over. The volunteer was looking at me, and I just put my hand up and gave a little wave, letting them know I'm good. I'm up. I'm ready to go. So it worked out perfect. And I think that 10 minutes of sleep, I mean, it just it made that second day so smooth. I was like, I felt refreshed after it, surprisingly.
That's fantastic. You don't have any excuse with your kids, though, I guess. Hey, like, you got 10 minutes of sleep. Like, let's go.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we got a young one. He just turned 2 a few weeks ago, so it's like, yeah, sleep deprivation is kind of like a normal thing. So not a huge deal, I guess.
Right in your wheelhouse. Listen, this obviously puts you on part of Team USA for an international satellite competition. Can you just kind of tell us how that comes about? What's going on there?
Yeah, so that's kind of like another brainchild of Laz, and where he kind of like he took a bad situation and made it like a really good situation. So the whole team thing didn't come about until COVID. I mean, I guess like if you want to look for a silver lining out of COVID, this whole backyard team competition could be it if you're into it.
Cool.
Because it was in 2020, you know, it was supposed to be the world competition of the Big's backyard in Tennessee. But there were obviously the international athletes couldn't travel internationally to compete. So that's where, when in 2020, Laz said, okay, well, we're going to do a team competition, and every country will put together its own 15-person team, and it'll be based on a point system, and they'll all run their satellite races in their home country. That way you don't require international travel, and all these backyard teams will compete with one another following the same backyard rules. And so that's how he ran it. And I think it really just like it caught everyone's attention, and everyone realized this is something that's kind of cool. And then so as of now, my understanding is that's the plan going forward, is on so this is 2022, so even years will be the backyard satellite team competition, and then on odd years it'll be the world competition in Tennessee, where the top backyard racers in the world will all come to Tennessee to compete for the world championship, individual world championship. And then the even years will be the satellite for the team competition.
There's so much going on. It's so exciting for you. I could keep talking with you all night, but we're up against the deadline, and people should just reach out and follow you. Tell them how to do that.
Yeah, probably my blog or my blog site or Instagram are the two best places to find me and follow, see what's going on. So the blog is at beastcoasttrailrunning.com, and my Instagram handle is Beast Coast Trail Running, just with the underscore between the words.
Thank you so much, Scott. A huge thank you, a huge congratulations once again, and a huge thank you to all of you listening. Shout out to race volunteers everywhere, and until next time, I'm Adam Lee, and this is Ultra Posty Thoughts in My Head.